about the atrocities being committed by the Syrian government against their own people. Transparency International, one of the most trusted indexes for perceived corruption, places Syria second only to Iraq as the most corrupt government in the Middle East and North Africa, and for good reason. Syria is in deep economic trouble, and the people are paying the price under this corrupt government. As the Syrian people attempt to change and reform, Assad obstructs any change in the social, political, or economic spheres. The United States and the UN have been actively pursuing a diplomatic role. But even as Assad's regime sits at the negotiating table, the assaults and atrocities against his people still continue. While the Geneva negotiations were taking place, Russia supplied Assad with banned weapons, and more violent government crackdowns occurred. Clearly, Bashar al-Assad has no intention of stepping down from office or making any other reforms to his country's economic, social, or political status quo. The UN banned the use of chemical weapons in 1925, creating a proverbial red line. As President Obama stated, the U.S. did not set the red line, the world set the red line. Chemical and biological weapons will not be tolerated. But in August of 2013, Syria crossed that line when the government used chemical weapons against its own people. This alone should be reason enough to intervene, but there's more. Other dangerous regimes, like North Korea, are carefully watching the events in Syria. The lack of intervention sends a message to these regimes that they too can get away with murder. Secretary of State John Kerry told the U.S. Senate, "North Korea is hoping that ambivalence carries the day, and they are listening to our silence. Not intervening will lead to serious economic and political consequences." Bashar al-Assad and the Syrian regime have clearly demonstrated complete lack of respect for human rights, no interest or obligation towards seeking diplomatic resolution, and they have laid down the challenge to the world. They will continue to do what serves their best interests until someone stops them, and it's time to stop.